Welcome into Triple Zeros, the anti-hot take sports show. I am your host, Josh Buckhalter. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, on X, at Josh G. Buck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports. The website is clockersports.com, and the email address is contact@clockersports.com. And, of course, you can follow the show and the site at 30spod. That's the number 30spod, and Clocker Sports on X and Instagram and Facebook as well. So great show lined up for you this week. We have a lot to talk about. Went into the Bears locker room today and spoke with a couple of players, heard from a couple of guys. We'll have some of those clips will be on the Twitter feed, on the Clocker Sports Twitter feed. Again, follow the site at Clocker Sports. Also, like, share, rate, review. If you do like what you hear, if you enjoy the podcast, please help us grow. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Tell a friend, tell two friends, tell those two friends, tell two more friends, and then we'll have a million people in no time at all. Like I said, though, we got a great show lined up for you. A couple of sound bites to hear from in the Bears locker room. We'll hear from new Bears wide receiver Collin Johnson, as well as safety Elijah Hicks, who's been the backup, or he is a backup, but he's been filling in for Eddie Jackson over the past few weeks while Jackson's been recovering from injury. So we'll hear from both of those guys in a little bit. But recapping today's practice, we'll start there and get into some NFL news. So the Bears did wrap up practice, and again, if you follow the site Clocker Sports at Clocker Sports on X, then you have you heard my report today. The Bears had a lengthy injury list, but the good news is that three key guys are on their way back in Jalen Johnson, Eddie Jackson, and Kyler Gordon, who was on injured reserve with a broken hand. So all three of those guys coming back is a great sign. They were limited today, but that's much more than they were doing last week. So good to see them trending in the right direction. Trending in the wrong direction was Cole Kmet, who popped up with the hamstring injury today, so we'll see how that goes. They have a few extra days this week as opposed to last week. Obviously, last week they played on Thursday night, so it is a little bit concerning to see him have the extra days off and still come back with the hamstring, but again, today was the first day. We'll see what else they do going forward. They did have Tevin Jenkins back out there after he returned last week during the game, so that was good to have. The running back situation was bleak, man. You did have Deontay Foreman out there. You had newly signed Darrington Evans out there. I guess newly re-signed Darrington Evans. You also had Robert Burns out there, but no Roschon Johnson, no Khalil Herbert, as they were tending to a concussion, in concussion protocol and dealing with an ankle injury, respectively. It's going to be interesting to see how the Bears go about, leaning on the run game, which is something that we know that they want to do, especially to set up their play action passing. Without Herbert out there, we'll see if Johnson can clear protocol in time to get back on the field. Foreman is very capable. It's not really Foreman that you worry about. It's after that. Travis Homer's been on deck. He's been injured, banged up most of the time. I don't even know if he practiced. I got to recheck the injury report. He hasn't helped much on offense at all, though, so that wouldn't be something to count on. And then you have Evans, who's more of a shiftier type of back. So, Burns is a combo back, fullback, running back. Kari Blasingame can carry the ball some, so they can manufacture a committee behind Foreman, but it's iffy at best. We just have to call it what it is. Tevin Jenkins, though, if you didn't get a chance to check the Twitter page out, the X page out. It sounds weird saying X. Am I the only one still doing it? I know it's like, the Facebook meta thing, but I cannot get over calling Twitter. It can't be X. That's just too short. Doesn't make any sense. We associate X with other things. Anyway, so I'm just I'm excited about the guys getting healthier, the team getting healthier, because I think one of the underlying underreported, I guess, underrepresented, appreciated storylines of the early going was how banged up they actually were without Tevin Jenkins, losing Kyler Gordon after week one, not having that offensive line healthy for much of the season up until last week, and even then we're still missing left tackle Braxton Jones. Preseason was much of the same, so it's kind of a continuation of that, where that uncertainty around what this group really was there because you just didn't get to see all the parts together, and now the offense is starting to click. DJ Moore won the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. I will have that up on the Clocker Sports X account. I got it right that time. On the Clocker Sports X account, sometime after recording this pod. We're recording this on Wednesday evening here, so watching the Phillies just take it to the Braves 10-2 right now in the what is this? Where are we at here? It's tied 1-1 in the series. It's the bottom of the eighth. So Another home run, they're just lighting them up. So it's been bad for the Atlanta baseball team. Anyway, back to football, back to the Bears. They take on the Minnesota Vikings this week. Both teams are 1-4. And in my practice report, post practice report, I noted that this was kind of similar to what they faced with the Broncos, where it's two teams coming in with the same record, both looking to avoid falling below the other one for their own reasons, not necessarily in competition with each other, but this one obviously is. The Vikings are a division opponent, so added emphasis there. But the Vikings are teetering on the brink of a rebuild, it sounds like, with Justin Jefferson now on injury reserve. The Bears catch a break on that. Wrote about how they caught a bit of a stray with the announcement of Jefferson's, I guess not his intent, but the Vikings' intent to place Jefferson on injury reserve. Check that out on Clocker Sports as well. So the Bears catch a break there, dodge a bullet there, but this is going to be a hungry team. It's going to be a team that likes to fight. Kirk Cousins, as Matty Refuse alluded to today, has been effective for a long time, especially against the blitz. He gets the ball out quickly. That's a double-edged sword, right? Cousins, while he reacts quickly to the blitz, does not always react the right way to the blitz. And maybe that's what Eberflus was getting to. He never said that. That part is my own add in there. I don't need that circulating around like Matt Eberflus said. No. So Kirk Cousins is good against the blitz, but again, he does not always make the right decision. So it'll be a fine balance, and Eberflus talked about that. It's the timing, it's the technique, it's the disguising, and all those types of things that determine how effective you can actually be against somebody like Cousins, who is effective when you send extra rushers. The Bears got 5 sacks last week. They needed it. They needed to see that happen because they'd been close a lot, and so I actually asked Justin Fields after practice today what the feeling was in the locker room. Was there a sense of maybe, relief after they had gotten that win and the offense is now finally rolling? The defense got some stuff. And he said, no, there's no sense of relief. And it's not because they're upset or anything about what happened. It's they believe in what they've been doing anyway, and I think I've tried to sidebar. I think I've tried to convey that throughout this entire turmoil. While everybody's screaming fire, I've been trying to say, well, the fire's on the outside and we can all see the smoke, but on the inside, they're the dog mean. They're chilling. This is fine. They're doing their thing. And so these results were not surprising to them. So it's not surprising to me to hear that response from him. Let me put it that way. Bam. I think that was nice. That kind of racked up nicely, didn't it? He did say, it's about them maintaining that consistency now, though. They got to prove that this is not a fluke. They've played two downtrodden teams. Their schedule doesn't really get tough right now for the next couple of weeks, so they can actually come out of this pretty clean and looking good. But they will face some tougher competition. Starting this week, the Vikings, while they're downtrodden, like I said, they do a lot of things well, a lot of things that could, mess with the Bears. The blitzing of Brian Flores, defensive coordinator Brian Flores, could be problematic for an offensive line. Again, that's still missing Braxton Jones. So Tevin Jenks is still rotating at guard. Maybe he might be full time. We don't know yet. He's done that before, so he was comfortable talking about how he could just get into the. He said he phrased it that because he knows he's only going to play about half the time, he can go double hard. When he's out there on the field. So that's a good mentality to have. But we'd like to see him back at full snaps there. So hopefully that's what happens this weekend. The Bears are getting healthier. There's no way around it. While teams around them are starting to show cracks, again, the Vikings dealing with injuries and uncertainty. They might trade Kirk Cousins. I don't even know how that's feasible. I think they might have a massive cap hit if they try to do that. I know his contract is up after this year, though, so that's how you avoid it. I guess I'm not, I don't claim to be a capologist. I'll tell you that much right now. I can follow, the dotted lines, painting the numbers when I'm trying to create a deal or whatever when I'm writing, but knowing it off the top of my head and remember the machinations and all those, I'm not good at that. Put that out there right now. And then you got the elsewhere in the division. The Lions look like the team to beat. That's just what it is. David Montgomery is running as well as he ever has. Looks explosive. He's always run tough. He's always run physical. He's always had the ability to make something out of nothing. But he looks explosive, and it's adding to his physicality because before you know it, he's up in your pads and taking you 5 yards down the field. Picking up a first down, moving chains. So hats off to David Montgomery for delivering, betting on himself, taking the walk and going up the road and be on the lookout. That's going to be the Bears' really first tough game. They have to face the New Orleans Saints on the road too, and that could be a tricky one. They have a winning record. I think they're the only team that might be maybe one of two teams without a losing record. I know that in the next 4 or 5 weeks. So Bears have a very gettable stretch. They can get themselves back into this, build some confidence before things get tough again. That Lions game though, be ready because David Montgomery's already let you know he's got you circled on the calendar. He about to line y'all up, man. He's about to line y'all up, and we've seen this run defense get gashed at times. So hopefully we don't see that. I think it's week 11 those two teams face off. So hopefully by then the Bears will be fully rolling and everything will be a-okay. Now, went into the locker room today and got to speak with a couple of players. I wrote about new addition Collin Johnson, 6'6" wide receiver. Coming from the Giants, so draft pick of the Jaguars. Been out for about a year. Missed a lot of last season as he was dealing with a torn ACL, and he's recovering. So talked about that with him and a couple of other things. Here is new Bears wide receiver Collin Johnson. Talk to me again, like I said, about his injury and what he hopes to bring to the franchise.
Collin Johnson, you were having a promising camp before your injury show again last time around. What are you looking to prove this time around?
And just take advantage of my opportunities, I'm really just grow as a player, like personally. But I'm just all about being the best you can be, controlling what you can control, keep it simple. But I'm blessed, I'm happy to be here. I'm glad Chicago gave me an opportunity, whatever way I can contribute. The special team, scout team, playing in the game, whatever they need me, I'm all ready for this.
What would you say, how would you describe yourself? Summarize yourself as a player.
As a player?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm smart. My football IQ, is up there. Obviously, along with the size, we got the jump balls and deep balls, red zone mismatches, stuff like that. But I just feel like I'm smart. I can come in and learn the playbook, play different positions. In terms of my skill set, I can go in and just learn how to use my body to create space and get open and make plays. So I would say between the two of those are probably my biggest assets.
And there you have new Bears wide receiver Collin Johnson. Now, he is on the practice squad, but the 6'6" pass catcher could fill an immediate void. The Bears traded away wide receiver Chase Claypool to the Miami Dolphins last week, and Equanimeous St. Brown came out of Thursday's win, with a hamstring injury of his own. So he did not practice today as well, or was he limited? He was dinged up in practice. At the very best, he was limited. I got to check that injury report. Let me get that right up real quick when we're talking about stuff here. So that's something that, you got to keep an eye on. If Johnson necessarily, he said himself, he can learn the playbook quickly, which is, I think, an underrated skill set and I call it a skill set because we saw last year how the Bears wide receivers who had access to the playbook the entire season actually struggled throughout the season to pick it up. And then even into this year, we've had some issues with guys not necessarily running the right route. So, that's nothing to sneeze at, scoff at him saying, that he feels like he could learn the playbook relatively quickly. And again, there's no guarantees. He's going to be down the pecking order even if he does get active on game day. But he could fill an immediate role for this team as somebody who is a bigger body on a team full of smaller, quicker guys, which is fine. But, you need some size sometimes down the field, especially for a quarterback like Justin Fields, who can tend to have his accuracy come and go. He's been diming it. So let me not act like, like he's been doing anything bad lately. But I'm just saying, you could definitely use a bigger pass catcher. That's what the idea was for trading for Claypool. That's the hope that you're going to get when St. Brown's back healthy, and maybe you get some of that with Johnson. It's a worthwhile flyer. It's a camp in training or not training camp. My mind is on basketball side kind of. Anyway, it's a practice squad deal, low risk, medium to high reward even, because you just don't know what you're going to get from somebody. Again, bigger body out there on the perimeter for Fields to throw to if the situation calls for it. Now, let me get you that full report because I don't want to keep you out here with half-assed information. Here's the full list of the injury report today. Kyler Gordon was limited with the hand. Khalil Herbert, DNP. Travis Homer, DNP with that hamstring. Eddie Jackson was limited with the foot. Cole Kmet, hamstring limited. Doug Kramer was activated off of the injured reserve. And I want to speak with him. I barely missed talking to him today. I'm going to talk to him hopefully tomorrow in the locker room and just ask him what does it mean to him to be able to stick around through all of the injuries. He has not gotten a lot of tick, and it's not often that teams keep guys, and I think he's a draft pick of theirs, but it's not often that they keep guys in the back end of the roster, especially with all the injuries that they've had and through all of this. So want to talk to him and see what that's kind of like to have that kind of faith. We do know the Bears they don't really have a lot of offensive linemen in the pipeline, right? Their young guys are playing more than, except for maybe Ja'Tyre Carter, right? Larry Borum's playing right now. He's a backup too, but that's not this regime's guy, Borum. So Kramer is nobody to just dismiss, and I would love to just get his thoughts on being able to kind of rehab with the team and not have some of the uncertainty that comes with that. If you're a young, unproven player in this league, oftentimes those guys just get lost in the wash. So interesting to me that he's stuck around through all this, and they've kept him around through all this. Again, they've had no issues getting rid of players that you might have thought would be key contributors. They've had no problems with that. So definitely want to hear what he has to say about that. Also, Jalen Johnson, hamstring limited. Lucas Patrick, DNP, concussion. That's something to keep an eye on because, again, he was the starting center with Cody Whitehair starting a guard with Jenkins rotating in. Now, if Jenkins is fully a go, that means you could probably put Whitehair back to center and you don't have to worry about Lucas Patrick. But, again, you want to be healthy because concussions, A, are nothing to play with, and B, because he brings some toughness to that offensive line. Now, there's some tough guys. They got some nasty streaks on the offensive line, but there's a different attitude with the Lucas Patrick than I think some of the other guys along the offensive front. So you definitely would hope to see that he gets back in there, if nothing else, to be somebody that can kind of light a fire under guys. Roshan Johnson, DNP, concussion. Terrell Smith was limited as well. He's been playing a little bit. He played a lot better. Not better. He played a lot in the last game and did well. So that's something to keep an eye on as well because, again, the Bears are very thin in that secondary. And then you got Equanimous St. Brown, DNP, with that hamstring. So that's the full report. Again, there was a lot of moving parts. It's the first report of the week. I wouldn't put too much stock into it because those things tend to evolve as the week goes on. And so I'll try to update that. Again, follow the website handle on X at Clocker Sports. Again, that is at Clocker Sports. And then I often retweet stuff on the 30s Pod 1 too, but just, go right to the source at Clocker Sports, and also follow me at Josh G. Buck. Also, again, like I said, I also spoke with safety Elijah Hicks, who started the last 3 games in place of Eddie Jackson, and just kind of got his feel for where his mindset. That's been one of my favorite things, just kind of see where everybody's head has been at throughout this entire up and down season. They had expectations, and I actually asked him that directly about, the difference between dealing with it last year and how he's just noticed this year and how they've kind of made their way through it, if they've made their way through it, and things of that nature. So, again, Bears backup safety Elijah Hicks. However, he has been a starter over the last few weeks as Eddie Jackson has been nursing his injury. So here's what he had to say today after practice in the locker room.
So you've gotten some starts over the past few weeks, man. What things do you think you've gained from just being able to be out there early and often?
I'll just say, reps, you get more experience, you get more comfortable playing with the guys, and then you got film to look at what you were doing in the previous games and improve on those. And there's just more opportunities to make plays and stuff. So,
how have you kind of leaned on Eddie throughout this process to try to find it?
A lot. Eddie, even Jaquan, the coaches, John, who we just got, everybody kind of just feed off each other. We got a good room with the guys that's always trying to help other dudes be better if they see something they can work on. So appreciate them dudes.
What do you think has been the biggest? What do you think was the biggest, change for last week compared to the weeks before for you guys?
Really, we finished. We had games where we had started off strong, but we didn't let go. We didn't relax. So that was the message, and it felt good to finish. And so now we figured out how to win and keep that energy. We just look forward to keeping that with us.
What has the experience been like? I know last year you guys were kind of doing the tear-down thing. This year you guys came in with expectations. They have not been met just yet, but you guys have a long way to go. What has that kind of been like for you, just kind of that up and down?
Really, we just come in here every week and do the same thing. We work, we pay attention to the details, execute the game plan, trust in each other, continue to build our relationship with one another, and then go out there and play hard. And so really, it wasn't really anything different we did. It was just, it finally coming together and finishing. So.
And there you have Bears safety Elijah Hicks talking about, you heard it from him directly. They didn't do anything different. Nothing has really changed. It's just the results are coming now from their efforts throughout the week. Again, there are going to be some people who call them delusional. There are going to be some people who point to, the results weren't working before that, whatever, it was a schedule, whatever. I applaud their approach throughout all of this. Even Claypool's, listen, man, I am not one of the people who felt like Claypool was necessarily in the wrong for what he said, nor do I feel like it was an outburst as it was painted to be. He said he spoke his honest truth. We always claim that we want players to be honest, but this is why they don't, and it's partially because of how their comments can be represented in the media, and it's also because of how it can backfire on them within the team. He spoke honestly, and he was penalized for it. Now, you could say, and they have said, that it was other things that led up to that, but that was clearly the straw that broke the camel's back. Ray Charles could see that one. So, we don't have to debate over whether or not Claypool should have said what he said. I feel like just the approach to everybody was positive the entire time. And I've maintained that. I've said that there's been no difference from them. The biggest difference was after the loss to the Broncos. That was one that you could feel that it got to them, right? They were down. They were angry after the loss to the Packers, right? I'm sure they felt some type of way about the Chiefs and the Bucs losses as well. They were down after the Broncos loss, okay? So to see them come back and hear how they're speaking now, this is not a surprise. None of it is surprising, and it should be par for the course for them. If they have this kind of resolve in what they're doing, man, it's going to be tough to break it. And I think that's one of the key principal foundational pieces, things that you want to implement if you are trying to rebuild your program. You have to have that kind of a foundation where you believe so much in what you're doing, nothing is knocking you off that track. Well, now we'll see if they are proven to be right in believing in those things. But I'm just saying that resolve is something to applaud, period. Point blank, period. So moving on to the rest of the league real quick. Tight end Travis Kelce has been all over the news, man, in the past couple of days. And most of it has not been about football. We already know about the stuff about Taylor Swift over the past few weeks. He also got into a quote-unquote vax war with Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers, with Rodgers saying that it's not a vax war, bro, and inviting Kelce to debate him on either his podcast, Kelce's podcast, or on the Pat McAfee show, because Rodgers apparently commandeers McAfee's show whenever he needs to get something off his chest, especially something vaccine related. So, that was interesting. But then Kelce's also dealing with this knee injury, and he's expecting to go on Thursday night against the Broncos. So that's something to keep an eye on. Again, the Chiefs are not necessarily thin at wide receiver, but they're very unproven at wide receiver. And I don't know if they have the top end talent to make up for any sort of significant loss of Kelce, because that's just the straw that stirs the drink, or maybe not, because I guess Mahomes is the straw. What is Kelce? The ice? He's something. He's critical. He's the glass. Okay, he's the glass because he keeps it all together when everything else is falling apart and Mahomes can't stir anything else. He could definitely find that wall. That's Kelce. He could find the glass right there. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the debate thing with Rodgers too, because Kelce tried to kind of play it down and say he was fine with it, and Rodgers brought in like political figures and everything, and it got a little bit weirder because it was already weird, but it got weirder because calling somebody Mr. Pfizer strange. Like, I mean, we do know who owns the New York Jets, right? No? Okay. I just, want to put that out there. That's not even mine. I saw that. So, like, if it's just floating out there, I'm sure it's come across your desk at one point or another. Just to, whatever. Elsewhere in the league, man, you got guys getting injured. The Miami Dolphins lost breakout rookie Devon. I'm unsure how to say his name, so please forgive me. I don't know if it's Devin or Devon. A-Chain, okay? Texas A&M. And he's not supposed to be out for the season, but he's going to be on injured reserve. That's a tough blow. I spoke about this earlier. I think I brought it to the podcast. But the lack of a preseason, I think, is having an adverse effect. And I don't have any numbers to back this up. This is completely anecdotal and completely from somebody who watches a lot of preseason games and football in general. Maybe I missed it. That's perfectly possible and maybe even likely to some extent. But it just seems like it's having an adverse effect because not only are guys not necessarily getting healthier, right? We're still seeing injuries, catastrophic injuries, season-ending injuries. Haven't heard too many career stuff yet. I got to check back in, I believe, on the it's not the Titans. Panthers offensive lineman that seemed to have passed out during their game last week. So keep an eye on that. But it seems like the injuries aren't going away. And so to kind of, sacrifice that preseason game and then you getting bad football on top of it. I feel like that's just the payoff was not there. Again, I don't have any numbers to back any of this up. I feel like there's been some anecdotes about, we've seen coaches talk about the performance issue. I don't know if we've seen anybody talk necessarily as much about the injury aspect of it all, but we know that they're constantly trying to protect against injuries, even talking about taking away kickoffs and that kind of thing. So I wonder, it just doesn't seem like it because it seems like guys are still getting hurt. But now you just get bad football to start the year too. So I don't know. Switching gears. The Atlanta Hawks got a win in their first preseason game. Scores don't matter. Results don't really matter. But I bring that up to say this. The energy around the Hawks is different. They entered last season with expectations. They made the blockbuster trade for DeJounte Murray, and they're expected to kind of, return to their Eastern Conference final glory days of just a couple of seasons ago. did not go that way. They were the definition of mediocre, like almost in every single aspect for most of the year. And so this year, they're flying under the radar. You got some pistivity from players because they're being disrespected and they're ranked low and things of that nature. And I like that. I like that for teams like this. Teams that aren't necessarily built to be the juggernaut kind of need to have that aspect, that point of view, not the why not us aspect. I'm not necessarily a fan of that one because that kind of feels like you plan on backing your way into it. You hope you'll luck out, and there's luck involved in everything, in every single championship run, all that. But there's a different kind of confidence from this Hawks team, maybe as opposed to years past when they were trying to figure things out. This one feels like they're gonna figure it out. One way or another, they'll figure it out. We're going to figure it out. And they have confidence in what they're doing, have confidence in the voice giving them the information, and they have confidence in the things that are being done around them. It sounds like. Who knows? But I'm very, very much intrigued by the Hawks this season as somebody who covers them on a daily basis. Right? It sounds different. It feels different. We'll see if the results are ultimately different, but there is a different level of, again, confidence coming from this group in year 2 of the DeJounte backcourt, the first full year of Quinn Snyder at head coach, right? Landry Fields and Kyle Korver running the front office together. We'll see what comes of it, but I like what they're doing so far. The Chicago Bulls. Listen, man, they got it dub too. I am not low on the Bulls. I am not high on the Bulls. I'm just on the Bulls. I'm not a big fan of the let's run it back, line of thinking. I understand it. I totally get it. There's no sense in necessarily bottoming out if you're not going to get what you want to get out of it. You can't control your own fate completely. You have I get all of that. But I think this is where you see why teams are hesitant to go, quote unquote, all in, especially those that aren't necessarily built to go all in. The Bulls might not be built to go all in that fashion, at least. They're not a team that's going to go out and spend exorbitantly before they see the results. Typically, that means you have to home grow the kind of talent that it takes to win at a high level. We have not seen that from the Bulls just yet. There's a lot of questions about their current core of young guys, right? Between the Patrick Williamses, the Dalen Terrys, the Kobe Whites, the Ayo Dosunmus. That's pretty much it. Then you got some projects in the Adama Sadogos, Justin Lewis, right? Terry probably falls more into the latter category than does in the former because he has not really shown you anything consistently in his little over a season with the Bulls. So I'm not in on the Bulls. I'm not out on the Bulls. Not up, not down. I'm just on the Bulls. They're there. I'm okay with it, right? I don't know if there's any way that they're going to necessarily shock me because one thing that I have noticed is I applaud the additions of Javon Carter, of Torrey Craig, but those are additions that probably would have helped you more last year when you were trying to build off of your 2021-2022 run to the first round where you lost in 5 games to the Milwaukee Bucks. Now you're coming in having missed a postseason, seeing a few teams ahead of you make some monster moves. Now, you weren't going to catch the Milwaukee's and the Bostons for the seeding probably anyway now. Say what you want about what they did with Lonzo there. Lonzo not there. He's not coming back this year more than likely, so we're not going to talk about that. What we're going to talk about is what this team has done since then. And they've been mediocre to below average since then. They've had flashes, but they have not sustained it. If they can sustain it, then I will gladly be here, and I hope I'm wrong. But what I'm saying is I just don't see them. I'm sorry, they lost their opener to the Milwaukee Bucks, 105-102. I knew that was wrong. I tried to look it up. I was looking up on the low. They try to talk about what they've done and how they're trying to change their shot profile and saying that, you can't do the same things because that's like the definition of insanity. You're still bringing back the same players for the most part. And what we've learned, and at least what I've seen over the years, is especially with older players, they are what they are. Trying to change that is not going to make it happen. Not going to make it so just because you want them to develop in certain ways. So I hope they're right, man. I hope they're right. But I'm just not as their confidence is different to me. Their confidence seems almost like the why not us kind of confidence. Like they haven't seen it either. And the players are talking about they got to start producing. I think they can feel that kind of pressure. They'll deny it till the end. That's fine. But it's there. They know. Vucevic has said it. Zach said they got to start producing. They know it. We'll see if it actually comes to fruition. The Los Angeles Lakers have played 2 preseason games, and their second one, they finally got LeBron James healthy, and interestingly, they decided to start Taurean Prince, but they did not even consider, because he did not dress, playing Jared Vanderbilt. Now, what do you draw from that? Not much until you get everybody active. Now, you could say, well, he was chosen to be DNP, but Darvin Ham has been open about, he's going to tinker with some stuff, as has Quinn Snyder, because he did not start DeAndre Hunter or Bogdan Bogdanovic, but he said that they would be ready to go for Thursday's matchup. So just keep that under your hat. Back to the Lakers. Ham has been said that he's going to tinker around with them. He wants to have a set starting 5, so we'll figure out, as this goes on, what that will actually be. But 3-point shooting, right? They're still playing good defense. And you still have a lot. Now have a lot more guys. You have even more guys that can create offense according to LeBron James. That's what he had to say about it. So wrote about that for Heavy on Lakers. Go ahead and check that out. It's an exciting time if you're a Lakers fan, if you want to see this team get back to doing the things that will help them not only compete with the Denver Nuggets this time around, but maybe even possibly get a game or 2 and maybe even advance if everything goes their way. They were not a healthy team. Right? It's hard to imagine they'll be even healthier with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Maybe if they can manage some of their minutes better because they have better depth now during the regular season, maybe that'll help them get some more out of them. It's really about the playoff time. And those two did what they had to do in the playoffs. So someone else is going to have to step up even further than what they showed in a promising but still a playoff run that fell short last season. That's the Rui Hachimuras, the Austin Reeves, the D'Angelo Russells. Those guys are going to have to show, and maybe even just Rui and Austin Reeves, because we kind of know what D'Angelo Russell is at this point. But those guys got to kind of take another step up when the Lakers get to the postseason, because as we saw, man, it only gets harder the further along you go. It doesn't get any easier. And I think that, they did a good job getting some additional depth. That should help them preserve some of their, bodies throughout the season. I'm not sure how much their ceiling has been raised. And that, to me, would be the biggest concern. Now, they've been lauded left and right for their moves. Again, I think their floor has been substantially raised. I don't know if you see them even think about contending for, the play-in spot that they had to deal with last year. But in a tough Western Conference, our Gabe Benson and Jackson Hayes, right? Are these guys gonna be difference makers? I'm not sure about that. Gabe Benson can play very well, and he's a guy that hits some big shots for Miami. I think he also tailed off towards the end of the playoffs as well with his efficiency. So there are questions. As promising as their offseason was, there are still questions about this group, and so. Yeah, man, I'm excited about it. This was 2 games for the Lakers, but 1 game for the Bulls and the Hawks. They'll be back at it the next couple of days here. I'm ready for the season to start, man. The preseason was cool, but when guys sit out and it's done for the day, that's just like it is in the regular season. You don't really want to watch that part. So I'm hoping the preseason goes by quickly enough. We can get into the regular season, get into some real games. Again. Excited about all 3 teams, though, man. I really am. I'm excited for the NBA to be back. Saw that Chet and Wemby game. Oh, my gosh. 2 aliens on the court together. Like, the league is in great, great hands, if for no other reason than the quote-unquote sideshow angle, because these are 2 ginormous individuals, right? Especially Wembanyama, the fluidity with which he moves. And you've heard about it. You've been seeing it all summer long, since before that, when he was over in France. Seeing it on the NBA court with other NBA players is a different vibe. There's just a different feel to it because, again, you get a greater appreciation for just how nimble there was a dig shared by, I want to say, Kevin Chouinard of Hawks.com, and I'm not sure if that's right. If not, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure that's who tweeted, retweeted, reposted. Gosh, that's going to be hard to get rid of. Reposted the video of Wembanyama doing a dig on a driving, I want to say, guard. He was not close to start. But he reached out and extended that 7'3", 7'4" frame and just slapped the ground from across the court, damn near, it looked like. It was an insane visual to even wrap your head around because he's so big, but he moves it's like water. Moves like water. And then Chet. Man, Chet has an unassuming visual. He's still big, right? But you don't think of it. He looks bigger than when he came in the league. You don't think about somebody who could maybe handle himself. I don't want to say he manhandles anybody, but he's more physical than you probably would imagine. He can handle himself well, and that skill and versatility is still there. I think people forgot about it because he was hurt all last year, and then you had Wembanyama come in and steal a lot of the thunder. No pun intended. But Chet has a very good shot, if not to be the front runner to win the Rookie of the Year award this year, in my opinion. So just a couple of things that have been interesting, and we'll dig into some more, broad news on the NFL and the NBA maybe in next week's show unless something big pops up. But it was a great couple of games, couple of nights for the Lakers again, game for the Bulls and the Hawks. But just so excited to have the sports back like this. This is the time, right? You got hockey going on, baseball playoffs are going on, like I just said, college football, right? You got NBA basketball coming back, NCAA will be back soon enough. College football, it's great. This is a great time if you are a sports fan, and I hope that you will make it a appointment or make it a point to enjoy this time and the rest of the sports seasons with me here at Clocker Sports, at Triple Zeros Podcast, 3 Zeros Pod on Twitter, on X. Dang it, I almost got out clean. On 3 Zeros Pod on X and Instagram, Clocker Sports on X and Instagram, and at Josh G. Buck on X and Instagram. You can hit up the show on Facebook as well, same addies, and then, of course, the email is contact@clockersports.com. Read the stuff as well, man. Again, Clocker Sports, heavy on Bulls, heavy on Lakers, soaring down south, last word on sports, and, of course, again, one more time for the people in the back, clockersports.com. And until the very next time, you already know what it is, man. I'm gone.